The Galactic Academy for Gifted Species stood tall and shiny against the pink sky of planet Nexus. Today was special. For the first time ever, a human was coming to study here. Administrator Nixvala paced back and forth in the main hall, her 4 tentacles twisted with worry. She had spent weeks reading about Earth, a planet so dangerous that most aliens called it a death world. Humans were strange beings who lived in a place with crushing gravity, deadly weather, and many large predators. Everything must be perfect, she muttered to herself. The human must not feel unsafe. The transport ship landed with a soft hum. The doors opened, and out stepped June. He looked around with wide eyes and a smile. He was not what Nixvala expected. June was not very tall, with black hair and a friendly face. He wore simple clothes and carried one small bag. He did not look like a creature from a nightmare world. "Welcome to the Galactic Academy," Nixvala said, keeping her distance. "I am Administrator Nixvala." "Thank you," June said with a small bow. "I'm very happy to be here. Earth has only known about alien life for 10 years. I never thought I would get to study off-planet." Nixvala led June through the wide halls. Students from 20 different planets stopped to stare at the human. Some moved away quickly. Others whispered to each other. A group of small blue students even hid behind a plant. "Is something wrong?" June asked. No, Nixvala said too quickly. "It's just, many students have never seen a human before. They have only heard stories." "What kind of stories?" June looked curious. Nixvala's skin changed from green to purple. "Just stories. Here is your room." The door slid open to show a large space with 2 beds. One bed was normal. The other was made of thick metal with heavy supports. "We made special changes for you," Nixvala said proudly. "That bed can hold up to 500 kilograms. The air system adds extra oxygen, since your planet has so much of it. And the gravity controls are set to 50% of Earth normal, to make you comfortable." June tried not to laugh. The bed looked like it could hold an elephant, and he felt strangely light, as if he might float away. "Thank you for your thoughtfulness," he said politely. A small green reptile-like student stood in the corner of the room. He had scales that shined like jewels and large, nervous eyes. "This is Ta, your roommate," Nixvala said. "He is from Lorax Prime, a peaceful planet with low gravity and no predators." Tay's hands shook as he waved. Hello, Earth person." "Just call me June," he said with a smile. He stepped forward to shake hands, but Tay jumped back, hitting the wall. Sorry," Ta said. "I was told humans touch each other as greeting. On my world, only mates touch." "I didn't know," June said. "I'll remember that." After Nixvala left, June unpacked his things. He placed a small plant from Earth on the windowsill, some books on his desk, and a photo of his family next to his bed. Ty watched from across the room. "Is it true?" he finally asked in a quiet voice. "Is what true?" June looked up. "That humans can break bones and still walk. That you eat the flesh of other animals. That you sleep even when it's dark." June smiled. "Some of that is true. We do heal quickly from injuries. We do eat meat sometimes. And yes, we sleep in the dark." Tay's eyes grew even wider. "Weren't you afraid of the dark?" "Not really," June said. "Were you told to be afraid of me?" Tay looked down. "They said to be careful, that you come from a death world." June sat on his oversized bed, which creaked but didn't break. "Earth is just home to me. It's not scary. Maybe tomorrow you can tell me about your planet, and I'll tell you about mine." Ta nodded slowly, some of his fear fading. "I would like that." As night fell, June looked out the window at the strange stars. Tomorrow would be his first day of classes. He wondered what other surprises waited for him at the Galactic Academy. June woke up early the next morning. He felt strange in the low gravity. When he moved, he almost floated off his bed. He would need to get used to this. Across the room, Tai was still sleeping, his scaly skin glowing softly in the dim light. June got ready quietly and checked his class schedule on his tablet. Galactic history, advanced mathematics, xenobiology, and physical aptitude module, he read to himself. The last one must be gym class. When Ta finally woke up, they walked to the dining hall together. Ta still kept a safe distance from June, but seemed less afraid than yesterday. The dining hall was huge, with tables for many different kinds of aliens. Some sat on chairs, others floated in tanks of liquid, and a few hung from the ceiling. As soon as June entered, the room got quiet. Hundreds of eyes, some with 2, some with 6, and some with none at all, turned to look at him. "Is that the human?" whispered a blob-like student. "I heard they can see in the dark," said another. "My parent told me they drink water with bacteria still in it and don't die," said a tall, thin alien with blue skin. June pretended not to hear. He took out his lunchbox of food from Earth. The school had warned him that alien food might make him sick. He sat down at an empty table. Tai hesitated, then sat nearby, but not too close. June opened his lunchbox and took out a spicy rice dish with vegetables and some meat. The smell spread through the air. "What is that smell?" gasped the small pink alien, moving away quickly. "It's called kimchi," June explained. "It's fermented vegetables with spices." "You eat fermented food?" asked a new voice. June looked up to see a student with 6 eyes and purple skin sliding onto the bench across from him. "That's so interesting." "I'm Suk." "Nice to meet you," June said, surprised by Suk's friendly approach. "Is it true humans eat meat that was once alive?" Suk asked, all 6 eyes wide with interest. "Well, yes," June admitted, though many humans choose not to. Several nearby students gasped. One made a choking sound and rushed away. "Don't mind them," Suk said. "Most species here evolved as plant eaters or energy absorbers. The idea of eating another creature is shocking." June nodded. "I'll try to be more careful about that." After breakfast, June went to his first class. The teacher, Clypax, was a tall insect-like being with 4 arms and a gentle voice. "Class, please welcome our new student from Earth," Clypax said. "June is joining us through the Rare Species Exchange Program." The students watched as June walked to an empty desk. The desk creaked under his weight, even though he felt lighter than normal. "You'll find Earth listed in your xenobiology texts under Class 12 planets. Extreme environments," Clypax continued. "Humans have adapted to survive conditions that would be fatal to most of us. Please be understanding of their different abilities." June felt awkward as the teacher spoke about him like he was some kind of strange creature. But he reminded himself that to them he was. During mathematics class, June answered a difficult question correctly. The teacher looked surprised. "Well done," she said. "I wasn't aware humans had advanced mathematical skills." "We're not that different," June said with a smile. By lunchtime, word had spread about the human who was not only strong but smart too. More students were curious, though most still kept their distance. "You have physical aptitude module last period," Suk said, joining June for lunch again. "Are you ready for that?" "Sure," June said. "I like gym class." "Be careful," Suk warned. "Coach Zol is very tough, and the activities are designed for all kinds of alien bodies. It might be dangerous for you." June laughed. "I'll be fine. How hard can it be?" Several students overheard this and looked at each other with worry. They thought the poor human had no idea what was coming. Little did they know, it was the gym class that wasn't ready for a human from Earth. Coach Zol was not happy. The 7-foot-tall, 4-armed blue alien paced back and forth in his office, reading a file labeled Earth. "Extreme CA Gucheon. This cannot be right," he muttered, his eye stalks bending toward the screen. No living being could survive these conditions. The file showed facts about Earth. Gravity almost twice as strong as the Academy standard, oxygen levels that would be toxic to most species, extreme temperature changes, and thousands of predator species. There was a knock at his door. "Enter," Coach Zoll said. Administrator Nixvala came in, looking worried. "Have you reviewed the human student's file?" "Yes," Coach Zoll said. "And I don't believe it. It says humans can run for hours without stopping, can lift more than twice their body weight, and can survive injuries that would kill most species." "It's all true," Nixvala said. "The human arrives for your class tomorrow. We must prepare special safety equipment for him." "Safety equipment for him?" Coach Zoll laughed. "What about safety equipment for the other students?" Meanwhile, June was in his last class of the day. He had made it through galactic history, where he learned that Earth was considered undiscovered until 10 years ago because it was too dangerous to visit. As class ended, Sook hurried to catch up with him. "Are you ready for gym class tomorrow?" she asked, her 6 eyes blinking in different patterns. "Sure," Jun said. "What kind of activities do you do?" "All kinds," Sook said. "Low-gravity ball games, swimming in different liquids, strength testing. But don't worry, Coach Zoll knows you're from a death world. He'll make it easy for you." Jun tried not to smile. He had been on his high school track team back on Earth. He wasn't worried about gym class. "Thanks for the warning," he said. "I'll be careful." That evening, Jun returned to his room to find a large package waiting for him. "What's this?" he asked Ta, who was reading on his bed. "Special equipment for you," Ta said, "for gym class tomorrow." Jun opened the package. Inside was what looked like a heavy spacesuit with the words "Human Safety System" printed on it. There were thick gloves, heavy boots, and even a helmet with a face shield. "I have to wear this for gym?" Jun asked, holding up the suit. It looked like it would weigh at least 20 pounds. "Yes," Ta said, "for your protection. The Academy doesn't want you to get hurt." Jun tried not to laugh. The suit would make exercise harder, not easier, but he didn't want to seem rude. "That's very thoughtful," he said, putting the suit aside. Later that night, Jun couldn't sleep. The low gravity made him feel strange, like he was always falling. He decided to do some exercises to tire himself out. He started with push-ups on the floor. 1, 2, 3. He counted quietly, not wanting to wake Ta. But Todd wasn't asleep. He watched with growing amazement as Jun kept going. 51, 52, 53. Tai sat up in bed. "How are you doing that?" he asked. Jun stopped, surprised. "Doing what?" "Those up and down movements. So many times." "Oh, push-ups. This is normal exercise on Earth. I usually do about 100 before bed." Tay's mouth fell open. 100. "But the gravity. It feels much easier here, actually," Jun said. He went back to his exercise. 54, 55. Ta watched in silence as Jun finished his 100 push-ups, then did sit-ups, and then some stretches that made his flexible body look like it had no bones. When Jun finally went to bed, Ta sent a message to some friends. "The human just did 100 gravity presses for fun. I'm worried about tomorrow." The message spread quickly through the student living areas. By morning, everyone was talking about gym class and the human who might break all the records, or break himself trying. Little did they know, the real surprise was yet to come. The day of gym class arrived. Jun walked into the large gymnasium wearing the heavy safety suit they had given him. It made moving harder, but he didn't complain. He noticed that many students were already there, watching him with wide eyes. The gym was unlike anything Jun had seen before. Different sections had different gravity settings. Some areas had pools filled with strange liquids. There were climbing walls, hanging bars, and what looked like obstacle courses designed for many different body types. Coach Zoll stood in the center, holding a whistle. He was tall with blue skin and 4 muscular arms, His eye stalks twitched when he saw June. "Ah, the human has arrived," Coach Zol said. "Come here, Earth student." June walked over, the heavy boots making loud sounds on the floor. "This is for you." Coach Zol handed June a thick book. "Human Safety Guidelines. You must follow every rule." June flipped through the book. It had hundreds of pages with rules like no running faster than a slow walk, no jumping higher than 10 centimeters, no lifting anything heavier than 5 kilograms, must rest every 3 minutes. "Is this really necessary?" June asked. "Yes," Coach Zol said loudly. "We don't want you to hurt yourself on your first day. Deathworlders need special care." The other students were listening closely. Some looked worried for June. Others seemed curious. Sook gave him a supportive wave with 3 of her tentacles. "Today, we start with the climbing wall," Coach Zol announced. "Each student will climb in their home planet's gravity setting." One by one, students went to the wall. The small pink aliens floated up easily in low gravity. The insect-like students used their sticky feet to climb quickly. Some students with tentacles wrapped around handholds and pulled themselves up. Then it was June's turn. "Human, your wall is set to 1/3 Earth gravity to make it easier for you," Coach Zol said. "Take your time and be careful." June stepped up to the wall. He felt strange in the safety suit, but the reduced gravity actually made him feel lighter, not heavier. He started to climb. Suddenly, there was a loud beep from the control panel. A robotic voice said, "EROR. Gravity CT-ging, RESET, to DEFAULT." Coach Zol rushed to the panel. "No, that's Earth gravity. It's too strong." The aliens gasped. Earth gravity was nearly twice as strong as standard Academy gravity. To them, it would feel like wearing heavy weights all over their bodies. "Stop the human before he gets hurt," someone shouted. But June didn't notice anything wrong. The gravity felt normal to him. It was what he had grown up with. He continued climbing, his strong hands and feet finding holds easily. "Look at him go," Sook said in amazement. June reached the top of the wall in under a minute, then climbed back down. When he turned around, the entire gym was silent. Every alien was staring at him. "What?" June asked. "Did I do something wrong?" You just climbed in Earth gravity," Coach Zol said, his voice shaking, "without any difficulty." "Well, yeah," June said. "That's the gravity I'm used to." A small green alien fainted. Another student dropped their water bottle in shock. "But that's impossible," Coach Zol said. "Our studies show that Earth gravity would crush most species. How are you so strong?" Sook suggested, her eyes wide with excitement. "I'm not particularly strong for a human," June said honestly. "I'm just average." This caused even more gasps. If an average human could do this, what could a strong human do? Coach Zol looked at his lesson plan, then at June, then back at his lesson plan. He threw the papers into the air. "Class dismissed," he shouted. "I need to rethink everything." As the students filed out, they kept looking back at June with new eyes. They weren't just afraid anymore. Now they were amazed. June took off the heavy helmet. "That was a short class," he said to Sook. "I think you broke the teacher," Sook replied with a laugh. "And maybe a few galactic records too." News of what happened in gym class spread through the Galactic Academy faster than light speed. By dinner time, everyone had heard about the human who climbed the wall in Earth gravity like it was nothing. Administrator Nixvalak called an emergency meeting in the main conference room. Coach Zul, several teachers, and Dr. Hyun, the Academy's top xenobiologist, gathered around a large table. "We need to understand exactly what happened," Nixvala said, her tentacles twitching nervously. They watched the video of June climbing the wall. Dr. Hyun paused it several times to point things out. "Look at his muscle movements," Dr. Hyun said. "So efficient, and his breathing barely changes. Most species would be gasping for air. "Is he dangerous?" asked one of the teachers. "I don't think so," Dr. Hyun said. "But we clearly don't understand humans very well." Meanwhile, Jun sat in the dining hall, eating his dinner. This time, many more students were watching him. Some had even moved closer to his table. "Is it true you climbed in Earth gravity?" asked a small blue student. "Yes," Jun said. "And you didn't die?" asked another. Jun tried not to laugh. "Earth gravity is normal for me. I've lived with it my whole life." Suk joined him at the table, along with two other brave students who wanted to know more about humans. "Tell us about Earth," Suk said. "What's it really like?" Jun thought for a moment. "It's beautiful. We have huge oceans, tall mountains, deep forests, and wide deserts. But it can be dangerous too. We have storms, earthquakes, and yes, many predators." "How do you survive?" asked one student. "We adapt," Jun said. "Humans are good at that." Back in the conference room, Dr. Hyun was showing pictures of Earth. "Look at this," she said. "Humans live in places where the temperature can change by 40 degrees in a single day. They have storms that can destroy entire cities. They have animals that can eat them, plants that can poison them, and water that can drown them." "How do they survive?" asked Nixvala. "That's what I'm trying to understand," Dr. Hyun said. "I think it's because Earth has forced humans to become stronger, faster, and more adaptable than we ever imagined." There was a knock at the door. Jun had been called to the meeting. "Come in," Nixvala said. Jun entered, feeling nervous. Was he in trouble? "Jun," Dr. Hyun said, "we need to ask you some questions about human capabilities." For the next hour, they asked Jun about life on Earth. How far could an average human run? How much weight could they lift? How long could they go without water, without food, without sleep? With each answer, the aliens looked more and more shocked. "You're saying humans can run for hours without stopping?" Dr. Hyun asked. "Some humans run over 40 kilometers for fun," Jun explained. "We call them marathons. And you can survive losing blood." "Yes, up to a certain point. Our bodies make more. And broken bones. They heal. It takes time, but they grow back together." By the end of the meeting, the administrators had a new understanding of humans. They were not just students from a dangerous planet. They were dangerous themselves, or could be, if they wanted to. "I hope I've helped," Jun said as the meeting ended. "I don't want anyone to be afraid of me." "No one is afraid," Nixvala said, though her color had changed to a worried purple. "We are just adjusting our understanding." As Jun walked back to his room, he passed groups of students who whispered as he went by. But now, mixed with the fear, he could sense something new: respect. In his room, Tai was waiting. "Is it true?" Tai asked. "Everything they're saying about humans?" "I don't know what they're saying," Jun replied. "But I'm still just me." For the first time, Tai moved closer to Jun, not farther away. "I think," Ta said slowly, "that you are the most interesting roommate in the entire academy." Jun smiled. It was a start. 3 days after the gym class incident, Jun was eating lunch when a tall, silver-skinned alien approached his table. The alien had 4 arms, sharp features, and eyes that glowed yellow. Everyone in the dining hall went quiet. "You are the human," the alien said. It wasn't a question. "Yes," Jun replied. "My name is Jun. I am Quan from the planet Nex," the alien said, looking down at Jun. "I hold the academy records for strength, speed, and endurance." "Congratulations," Jun said politely. "Until you arrived," Quan continued. "Now everyone talks about the human and his Earth gravity climbing. They have forgotten about me." Suk, who was sitting next to Jun, whispered, "Be careful. Nexians are very proud." Quan's yellow eyes narrowed. "I challenge you, human. 5 tests of physical ability. In front of the whole school." The dining hall erupted in whispers and gasps. Challenges were rare at the academy. "I don't want to compete with anyone," Jun said. "I'm just here to learn." "Are you afraid?" Quan asked loudly. Jun thought for a moment. He didn't want to make enemies, but he also didn't want the aliens to think humans were weak or scared. "I'm not afraid," Jun said. "But what's the point?" "To see who is truly superior," Quan said. "Nexian or human?" "Okay," Jun agreed, "but only if the academy approves." Word of the challenge reached Administrator Nixvala quickly. At first, she wanted to forbid it, but Dr. Hyun convinced her it could be a valuable way to learn more about human capabilities in a controlled setting. "We will allow the challenge," Nixvala announced at a special assembly. "It will take place in 3 days. There will be 5 events, each testing different physical abilities." Students began talking excitedly. Some even started making bets on who would win. After the assembly, Tai caught up with Jun in the hallway. "Are you sure about this?" Tai asked, his scaly skin shimmering with worry. "Quan is the strongest student at the academy. His species evolved on a high-gravity mining planet." "It'll be fine," Jun said. "It's just some friendly competition." But as the days passed, Jun realized this was a bigger deal than he thought. The whole academy was talking about it. Teachers were changing lesson plans to discuss human versus Nexian physiology. Even the kitchen staff were preparing special high-energy foods for both competitors. Jun decided to train a little. Each morning, he did push-ups, sit-ups, and stretches in his room. Todd watched with growing amazement. "How many can you do?" Tai asked on the second morning. "About 200 push-ups now," Jun said. "I'm trying not to overdo it." Tai's eyes widened. "That's overdoing it by academy standards." Meanwhile, Quan was training hard too. Students reported seeing him lifting huge weights in the gym and running for hours in the high-gravity zone. The night before the challenge, Suk visited Jun's room. "The whole school is talking about tomorrow," she said. "But I'm worried." "About what?" Jun asked. "There's a rumor that Quan has been studying Earth videos," Suk said. "He's seen human athletes and soldiers. He knows what you can do." "That's fine," Jun said. "I'm not trying to hide anything." "But he's also telling everyone that he'll prove Nexians are superior to humans," Suk said. "He's making it about our species, not just about you two." Jun frowned. He didn't want to be part of some galactic species rivalry. He just wanted to fit in at the academy. "I'll be careful," he promised. That night, Jun couldn't sleep. He thought about Earth, about how different life was there. Humans had to be strong to survive on Earth, but they weren't always aware of just how strong they were compared to others. Tomorrow, everyone would find out. The day of the challenge arrived. The main gymnasium had been transformed into an arena. Seats circled the center area where the 5 events would take place. Every student and teacher at the academy had come to watch. Jun walked in wearing the school exercise uniform. The special safety suit had been put aside for the competition. He saw Tai and Suk in the front row, giving him encouraging waves. On the other side of the gym, Quan entered with a group of supporters. The Nexian looked confident, his silver skin gleaming under the lights, his yellow eyes fixed on Jun. Administrator Nixvala floated to the center of the arena. "Welcome to this special physical challenge," she announced. "Today, we will witness a contest between Quan of Nex and Jun of Earth. There will be 5 events testing different abilities. May the best student win." Coach Zol stepped forward. "The first event is underwater breathing," he said. "Each contestant will enter a tank of water and stay submerged as long as possible." Jun felt a twinge of worry. Humans weren't known for holding their breath underwater. Quan, on the other hand, looked pleased. The 2 tanks were filled with clear water. At the signal, both Jun and Quan climbed in and went underwater. Jun held his breath as best he could. His chest began to burn after a minute. He could see Quan through the glass of the other tank, looking calm and comfortable. After 2 minutes, Jun had to surface, gasping for air. The crowd murmured. Quan remained underwater for another 3 minutes before finally coming up. The first point goes to Quan of Nex, Coach Zol announced. Quan's supporters cheered loudly. The second event is weightlifting, Coach Zol continued. Each contestant will lift increasingly heavy weights until they can lift no more. This was more in Jun's favor. On Earth, he had been an average weightlifter, but here, with the lower gravity, he knew he could lift more. They started with light weights. Both Jun and Quan lifted them easily. As the weights got heavier, Quan began to strain. His forearms trembled under a weight of 200 kilograms. "That's the Academy record," Quan said between heavy breaths as he successfully lifted it. When it was Jun's turn, he gripped the bar, took a deep breath, and lifted. It was heavy, but manageable. The crowd gasped as he held the weight steady. Then they added more. 250 kilograms. Quan tried but could not lift it. Jun did, though it took all his strength. "Point to Earth," Coach Zol shouted, sounding surprised. The third event was a sprint race across the gym. Quan was fast, his long legs covering ground quickly. But Jun had run track on Earth, and the Academy's gravity made him feel like he was almost flying. He won by a full second. "Another point to Earth," Coach Zol announced. Now the score was 2-1 in Jun's favor. The crowd was getting excited. They had expected the Nexian to win easily, but the human was proving stronger than anyone thought. The fourth event was temperature resistance. Both contestants entered chambers where the temperature would gradually rise. "We will stop when one contestant signals discomfort," Dr. Hyun explained. The test began. The temperature rose from room temperature to 30 degrees Celsius, then 35, then 40. Quan began to look uncomfortable at 45 degrees. Some parts of Earth reach 50 degrees in summer, Jun explained to the audience as sweat ran down his face. Humans can handle it with enough water. At 48 degrees, Quan signaled to stop. He couldn't take any more. Jun was hot and sweaty, but still okay. "Point to Earth." "The score is now 3-1, Coach Zol announced. Quan looked angry now. The final event was reflex testing. A machine would throw small softballs at high speed, and they had to catch as many as possible. Quan went first. His forearms moved in a blur, catching 47 out of 50 balls. The crowd cheered. It was an impressive display. Then it was Jun's turn. The machine began firing balls at him. His human reflexes, evolved to dodge predators and catch prey, served him well. He caught 45 balls. Not quite as many as Quan, but close. The final point goes to Nex. The final score is 3-2, with Earth as the winner, Coach Zol announced. The gymnasium erupted in cheers and excited chatter. Jun had won, proving that humans from Earth were not just survivors but champions. After the competition, students crowded around Jun, asking questions and offering congratulations. Even some of Quan's supporters seemed impressed. Quan himself stood to the side, his yellow eyes watching Jun with a mix of anger and respect. Administrator Nixfala raised her tentacles for silence. An excellent display from both students. "Now, we will have a short ceremony too." She was interrupted by a loud cracking sound from above. Everyone looked up. The gymnasium's ancient ceiling, stressed by years of different gravity settings, was beginning to break. A long crack spread across the metal and stone. "Everyone out," Coach Zol shouted. "The ceiling is collapsing." Students and teachers rushed toward the exits, but it was too late. With a terrible groan, a large section of ceiling broke free and crashed down into the center of the gym. Dust filled the air. The lights flickered and went out. Emergency lights came on, casting everything in a red glow. People were screaming and shouting for help. Jun looked around. He saw Suk pinned under a small piece of debris. Nearby, several other students were trapped. And worst of all, Quan was lying unconscious under a large metal beam. The environmental systems began to fail. A hissing sound filled the air as strange gases leaked from broken pipes. The atmosphere mix is destabilizing. Someone shouted. It will become toxic to most species in minutes. Without thinking, Joan ran toward Sook. He lifted the debris off her as if it weighed nothing, powered by adrenaline and earthborn muscles. Are you hurt? He asked. My leg, Sook said. I think it's broken. I'll come back for you, Jun promised. First, I need to help others. He moved quickly through the damaged gym, lifting debris and freeing trapped students. His strong human lungs filtered the increasingly toxic air better than the aliens' breathing systems could. When he reached Quan, he saw that the situation was bad. The metal beam was too heavy even for him to lift alone, and Quan was bleeding from a cut on his head. Someone help me, Jun called out. Tai appeared beside him, along with 2 other students. Together, they managed to lift the beam just enough for Jun to pull Quan free. Is he alive? Tai asked, coughing in the bad air. Jun checked Quan's pulse the way he had learned in first aid class on Earth. Yes, but his breathing is weak. The toxic gases were getting worse. Many students were having trouble breathing now. The exits were blocked by fallen debris. We need to get out, Jun said. Follow me. He picked up Quan and carried him over his shoulder. With his other arm, he helped Sook hop along. Ta guided other injured students behind them. They reached the main exit, but it was blocked by a pile of heavy rubble. The aliens looked at each other in despair. We're trapped, someone whispered. No, we're not, Jun said. He set Quan and Sook down gently. Stand back. The aliens watched in amazement as Jun began moving the rubble piece by piece. His clothes tore as sharp edges cut his skin. Blood appeared on his arms and hands. But he didn't stop. In Earth's gravity, such work would be hard. In the Academy's lower gravity, it was possible, though still dangerous. Piece by piece, Jun cleared a path. Now, he said, breathing heavily, let's get everyone out. They formed a chain, helping injured students through the gap. Jun stayed until last, making sure everyone got out safely. When they finally reached the outside hallway, emergency teams were waiting with medical equipment and clean air masks. Dr. Hyun rushed forward. Jun, you're injured. Jun looked down at his bleeding arms and torn uniform. He hadn't even noticed the pain. I'm fine, he said. Help the others first. As medical teams treated the injured students, Jun sat down heavily against a wall. He was tired, but satisfied. For the first time since arriving at the academy, no one looked afraid of him. Instead, they looked at him with something new: gratitude. 1 week after the gym accident, the academy held a special ceremony in the main hall. The gym was still being repaired, but the school had returned to normal in most ways, except for one big change: the way everyone looked at humans. Jun stood on the stage next to Administrator Nixvala. His cuts and bruises were already healing. Another thing that amazed the alien students: what would take them weeks to recover from only took Jun days. Today, we honor the bravery and quick action of Jun from Earth, Nixvala announced to the packed hall. Her tentacles moved in the formal pattern that showed deep respect. Without his help, many more students might have been seriously hurt. The crowd applauded. Jun saw Ta and Sook in the front row. Sook's leg was wrapped in a special healing bandage, but she was smiling with all 6 eyes. I didn't do anything special, Jun said when the applause ended. Any human would have done the same. That is perhaps the most remarkable thing, Dr. Hyun said, stepping forward. What seems extraordinary to us is ordinary for humans. We have misunderstood Earth and its people for too long. After the ceremony, Dr. Hyun announced a new class: Understanding Death World Species. Many students signed up immediately, eager to learn more about humans and other species from high-gravity, high-danger planets. As Jun left the hall, he found Quan waiting for him. The Nexian's silver skin had lost some of its shine, and he still moved carefully because of his injuries. Human, Quan said. June, how are you feeling? June asked. Better, Quan replied. The doctors say I will recover fully. He paused. You saved my life. Anyone would have. No, Quan interrupted. Not anyone. I would have left you under that beam if our places were switched. But now I understand. Humans are not just strong because of your muscles. You are strong here too. He pointed to his chest, where his 3 hearts beat. You use your strength to help others. June didn't know what to say. Finally, he held out his hand. After a moment, Quan took it in his upper right hand and shook it carefully. In the days that followed, life at the academy changed for June. Students no longer moved away when he walked down the hall. Instead, many asked to sit with him at meals. They wanted to hear about Earth, about human sports, human music, human everything. Ta had become a real friend, not just a roommate. One night, as they were studying together, Tay asked a question. Is it true that humans have wars? That you fight each other? June nodded sadly. Yes, we aren't perfect. We have the same strength that can save lives, but sometimes we use it to hurt each other. Tai thought about this. Perhaps that is the price of being strong. You have more choices about how to use your power. During the next gym class, which was held outside while the gymnasium was being fixed, Coach Zol asked June to help demonstrate some exercises. But this time, Coach Zol said with a laugh, no safety suit. Show us what a human can really do. June demonstrated push-ups, sit-ups, and running. The alien students tried to copy him, with mixed results. It became fun instead of frightening. At the end of the month, Administrator Nixvala called June to her office. We have received 10 new applications from humans who want to study here, she said, and 20 of our students have applied to visit Earth. That's great, June said. Is it safe? Nixvala asked. For our students to visit Earth. June smiled. We'll take care of them. That's what humans do best, adapt and protect. As June left the office, he saw Suk talking excitedly with a group of students. When she saw him, she waved him over. June, I've been accepted into the Earth Exchange Program. I'll be the first Alfaxi to visit your planet. That's wonderful, June said. I'll write to my family. They'll be happy to show you around. June looked at the students around him, different shapes, different colors, different biologies, and smiled. They had been terrified of him once. Now they were friends. The Death Worlder had found his place among the stars.